feel I should talk about that situation the other day. I had a viewer talking about joining me, and like I pretty much ended the conversation with, "It sounds like you're just gay. Go away." He wanted, I believe he wanted to join me, like, come out here and do some canoeing, have some fun. Uh, his, his complaint, after complaining that I called him out for being gay, his complaint was that, it started out with, "Hey, let's put together a thing," and then all of a sudden I'm rebuilding your whole world. I don't know, like, where we got to that misunderstanding. Good morning, folks. But let me explain how I do things. Whether I got money or help or not, I always got like this running mental list. Morning, Chiquita. If you come out and offer to help, I'm gonna give you a long list that's gonna overwhelm you. Like, I don't do lists that need to be completed. That's the misunderstanding. It's like when somebody asks me, "Oh, give me a list," I'm like, "You sure you're ready for that?" Because I'm not gonna make it the short list. I'm gonna make it the, like, if you ask me for a list of things I need, I'm gonna give you the list of all the shit I can't afford. You know? Like, all of it for the next 20 years. And then let you decide what of that you can buy. Don't ask me for a list that you can get everything on. Like, that's what a wish list is. It's stuff that you might or might not get for me. I think this guy was like confused into thinking I expected all of a sudden for him to buy everything on the list in order to get in the group. And that's not how it works. It's not how scavenging works. Scavenging is something you go around. Let me explain. Like, if you were right here, right now, camped out in a boat next to me, like, "What do we do today, Scott?" I'd say, "Whatever the fuck you want." But today, my goal is to go out and get a couple tarps of these dimensions. Like, that's not your business. That's for my tent, to keep me dry. All right? You don't need that. But if we're sharing food and cooking, then I'm gonna be like, "Look, we're pretty low on stove fuel. You might want to grab some stove fuel." Like, that's a we thing. Okay, now I got a project coming up where I don't even have the materials to do, and there's one tool I'm missing to do it right. I need a compass rose. That's not your fucking problem. That's a me thing. Because that's a tool I need for my project, my side project. It's not going to help you. Like, okay, but let's say I got all that and I'm ready to do that project. Right, my next project I want to work on, I need about 100 aluminum soda cans that all match in size. Okay, that's a we thing. Like, that's a thing that we can both be looking out for along the way. And it doesn't cost you a damn thing to grab them up. But a second of your time. You might go to one person collecting cans. Or you might just go straight to the recycling center and be like, "Look, I'll buy 100 cans from you." You know, here's 20 bucks. That give me 100 cans? Probably. You know, when I make that list, it's a wish list, not an expectation list. Thank you, Crystal. By the way, I look like a monster. Fikurin says I look like a monster. Dude hasn't seen a lot of monsters, has he? I've seen some monsters. None of them looked anything like me. But whatever. I don't know. Everybody got different monsters, I guess. Morning, Devin. Ah, that's enough coffee to get me going. Well, yeah, we're in Florida. There's no, they only give you the price of the aluminum, like the weight, to recycle. You recycle bags and bags, you can get something out of some aluminum, but there's no deposit here. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of like they had deposits up in Oregon, and it was nice because you didn't see any cans or bottles on the street ever. It's never. You know what? I think they do it in a way where the stores have to. Any store that sells sodas in cans or bottles has to accept the cans and bottles in return. So if you're selling sodas, you also have to take part in the recycling program. What that does is it immediately puts every home bum in the state to work. Like, it gives everybody a job. Everyone who's on the street walking around, they instantly find a value in picking that thing up. The people that don't find the value in collecting that nickel or dime and they throw it down are employing the people that need a dime or a nickel that pick it up. So it's actually a pretty good system. Like, if you throw trash like paper, you're littering, but if you throw a can or you throw a bottle that doesn't break, you're actually employing the homeless in Oregon. Because any homeless person can pick up either one and take it into anywhere and return it. Yes, there's also a law in Oregon that you're not allowed to pump your own gas. It's not because they don't believe in people's ability to pump gas. Like, Florida's proof that even idiots can pump some gas and be okay. You know, they can make it pretty much idiot proof. They made hoses that you can leave in your car, drive off, it yanks the hose off the gas pump, and the pump doesn't leak gas everywhere. It just has an automatic flow valve shut off. And like, okay, the reason there's a law that you're not allowed to pump your own gas in Oregon is because it forces all these fuel companies to pay somebody to be there, wash your windows and pump your gas, check your oil, all that shit. They do it all at once. And you get your basic checks with your gas and someone to attend to it. That means all these high school dropouts got a job where they can go do something. Like, they pump gas, but while they're pumping gas, they're kind of learning the mechanic's job over there. Like, every once in a while, they got to run over there and help him change a tire. Okay, and then that gas pumping dude, he might have dropped out of high school. He becomes a mechanic's journeyman by getting a job at the gas station. You see how that works? It's a good system. Right now we have this huge skill gap in society, I've noticed, where the tradesmen that we're producing don't know how to do shit. They're freaking stupid. We got people calling themselves carpenters. Like, they learn how to make a cut with a saw, and they learn how to read like most of the tape, and learn how to work a nail gun, and suddenly call themselves a carpenter. Like, yeah, we got a lot of people that go to school. Here's how they pass mechanic class. They find a partner that knows what he's doing, and then they watch him rebuild the engine, and then they pass the test because they're his partner. But they don't actually do anything or learn anything. They don't actually turn any wrenches, and they pass mechanic class without knowing how to do anything. How do I know this? Because that's what my partner did in mechanics class. Nothing. If he actually did grab a tool and pick up a part, he was fucking up and getting in the way of me doing it. And I'm just like, no, just fucking move, get out of the way. You know, it's like, same with these degrees. People are getting degrees in academia without learning, without getting an education. Here's how they do it. Okay, they get a question in the book, and they read the wording of the question, and then they skim through the book, and then they find some statements in the book that have the same wordings as the question, and then they just they take these words out of the book and transfer them over here to where the little line is for their answer, but they don't actually read it or take the information into their brain and process it. They just copy and paste it with their hands and eyes. Like, they're not using a computer to read and then paste it over here, but it's just a copy and paste, but there's no processing of the information going on. And they're able to pass their tests like that. And that's how people are getting a degree without getting an education. They're just copy and pasting the information without processing it through their brain and going, how does that work? I know how this happens because I've seen it. I was their tutor. I was the one, like, trying to teach them the information so they could pass the test that they'd never passed. You ever noticed in school there was people that passed the tests without doing homework or studying? And then there's people that studied and studied and studied and couldn't pass it. The reason they couldn't pass the test is because they're crunching to try to memorize the answers rather than process the information and figure out how shit works. Like, I once had a teacher ask me, it's my senior year in high school, I had not attended for a Monday, not one single Monday. I skipped every Monday. Until one day I was so tired, I didn't realize it was Monday, and I showed up at school. And one of the students elbowed me and woke me up. I was laying on my desk, and I looked up. I was a little confused. I felt like out of place. I looked around, and like, there's familiar faces. Like, is this first period? Am I in the right class? Yeah, but it's Monday. I'm like, oh, shit. I get up to leave. I'm like, let me get out of here before the teacher catches me. And I start trucking it out of the classroom, and here comes the teacher. He sees me. He's coming in the door as I'm walking out the door. He's like, what are you doing here? I said, I was just leaving. And he goes, all right, see you tomorrow. And, you know, my entire year, my entire senior year, I didn't attend a single Monday and was never marked absent and was never, for some reason, I was never suspended or questioned about it. My entire senior year. But I never went to school on a single Monday of my entire senior year. Nobody ever asked me why I didn't go until this one day. The teacher says, how come you don't come to school on Monday? And I said, I don't need to. And he goes, huh? And I said, in fact, for that matter, I don't need Tuesday or Wednesday. Like, I read the book ahead of you guys. I study it, and then I write notes wherever I have a question I don't understand. And I read it over and over, and I still don't understand it. That way, when I get to class and you give the lecture on it like a week later, I already got my questions down. And while you're giving the lecture, I already know in my mind what I'm trying to answer. And usually it's answered during the lecture. And if it's not, I'm going to raise my hand and ask and ask and ask until I get it. And then once I understand it, I'm fine. Okay, look, I don't need Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, because on Thursday I show up and you give a review of everything you've taught all week, which is basically all the answers to the test on Friday. And if I take notes on Thursday, I already know what's going to be on the test the next day. All I need is Thursday and Friday. Teacher looked at me like, never asked me another dumb question the rest of the year. I was like, I don't come on Monday because I don't need to. I'm tutoring half your class. And I get 95 to 100 on every test. I don't study for these things. I'm just freaking learning the lessons. I pay attention during the class and ask questions until I understand. That's how I pass. No, I'm not cheating. Yes, I get stoned on Mondays. I stay home, play Mario Brothers, and get stoned. That's what I did on Mondays. I made a deal with my math teacher. I said, I'll tell you what, man, your class don't understand you, but I do. And I'm like, you teach the lesson. After you teach the lesson, I'll go to this half of the class and you go to that half of the class and just try to get them to get it. And if my half of the class keeps up with the bell curve of your half of the class, I want that for my homework grade, because I'm not doing homework. Like, I'm not gonna. And if you grade me strongly enough on my homework grade, I'm not gonna pass your class. Because I'm not gonna sit here and spend an hour every day learning this shit just to go home and spend another hour repeating the same lessons. Like, I already get it. I prove I get it. I show you on a chalkboard. I show you on my tests. Like, why should I look? I spend 6 hours a day. There's a gator. I spend 6 hours a day in this class. Why should I spend another 8 hours at home doing the same shit when I could be over here filming alligators? Got a big roll of mess on the canoe. I've been cleaning up my boat a bit, getting rid of some junk I don't need. That's the one that's been passing through every morning. I don't usually catch it on camera. As I said, the gators around here are starting to get used to me enough to where they're not so much hiding. Now, it's not comfortable enough to just come over and chill. And that's because I don't feed it. I make it a point not to let these gators get any of my dinner scraps. So they don't come over thinking of me as a food source. That's what makes alligators dangerous, is when people get stupid with them and start treating them like puppy dogs. They're not puppy dogs. They're primordial. They're monsters. You know. Yes. Gators and crocs, they have some subtle differences. Crocs have more of a narrower V-pointed snout. And you know, like a alligator's nose is a little broader, and they got different way of their teeth overlapping. There's different subtle differences, but excuse me while I gotta get dressed for work. Get my dirty digging in the dirt pants on. Well, I should be right. I mean, I'm not an expert on crocodilians. I just know a little bit because I lived here in Florida all my life. Well, not all my life, but since I was, 16. I came here when I was 16. I traveled all over this country, but, you know, I always keep coming back to Florida because it's warm in the winter. And you can sail. There's a lot of coastline to sail around in Florida. Boats are cheap. I'm gonna make sure I don't flash people. This is YouTube, not PornTube. No gooning. But anyway, yeah, you don't want to be. I make it a point not to give them any scraps, and I also make it a point not to do any fishing right here for the kind of fish that are hanging around in this area, because they do get my scraps whenever I clean my dishes, and that's unavoidable. You know, like, I can make sure the gators don't get it, but I can't stop the catfish from eating this food. And I mean, the snapper, the sheep's head, you know, there's a variety of different snapper fish that come in and they hang in this area, and they get used to those scraps dropping. So I don't fish here. Like I might go after some transient fish that come through that, where that gator went is the deeper channel of this cove, and the bigger fish and manatee that pass through will generally stick to that, which is why I'm back here out of there. That's like the main roadway for the animals. I'm off to the side in the parking area. Yeah. Well, actually, Maxwell, caimans, believe it or not, caimans are the smaller of the three and the most aggressive. And we do get caimans here in the Everglades, but they're kind of more rare. There's just mostly gators here. I'm not sure. The other day, there was a little, it's just, crocs tend to have like a more of a lighter color around their eyes too. Whereas gators' bases will be really dark colored all the way across. Like, the other day, that's why I was looking at that one. There's a video I uploaded where I was just chatting for hours. And in the middle of it, there was one smaller, and I wasn't sure if it was a croc or a gator. I couldn't really zoom in on it. And it was only a few feet long, so like I couldn't tell for sure. But I think it might have actually been a croc. No, I'm not in the Everglades, but I'm in South Florida. You don't have to be in the Everglades to, like, they're all the way up to Louisiana. Grab a pair of freshies. Oh man, I got a lot of junk in the canoe to get rid of. I don't even really have room for me to to sit in there. I found this big roll of upholstery floating in the waterway, and I was thinking I was going to use it in here, but it's all junked. Like, it looked good from a distance, but there's no cleaning it up. There's holes all in it, and I'll just get it out of the waterway. That's fine. I sealed up this yesterday. I pulled the tarp back, sealed this portion of the roof, and painted it white to keep it a little cooler in here. That black roof was really absorbing a lot of heat, which also I'm getting rid of the camo tarp and just gonna stick with the silver tarps. Shopping list. Hey Mac. Yeah, I've been well enough. Well as expected, I suppose. Better bring a pen. Well, thank you. I guess I'll call you Ima. Are you gooning? He mods a channel? Wow. Ooh. I don't know, his random rants. I guess, you know, they get people's attention. Well, I'm not looking forward to this, but I do need to go make some money. So, let me make sure I got everything. I got my socks, cigarettes, lighter, marker, plug some lamps in, get them charging. Yeah, well, I got a whole canoe load of trash. I did finally ran the stringer through here, connecting the front and back portions and squaring them up with each other. Then sealed this part of the roof. Like I said, I put another beam in, and you see, this thing's just about ready to mount the solar panel on it. Very soon I'll be moving the big 100 water from the front to above me, and then when I leave a gap, I put mounts up off the roof structure and leave a gap between the panel and the roof that creates a airflow underneath the solar panel, which makes it run cooler, which makes it more efficient. But it also creates an air gap that cools the boat, so it puts my roof under shade. And so that cooling effect, any wind that blows through that gap or rain cools the whole system. Just every layer with a gap, shade making, and then a gap is another layer of protection from radiation, solar radiation, and drops some more degrees in temperature. And at some point, somewhere in one of those gaps, I gotta put some cooling units, which is pretty much right here on this section. Right now what I got going is a tarp sitting directly on a black surface. And if I remove the tarp, I got sun directly on the black surface, making it an oven in here. If I put the reflective tarp on there, at least it pushes some of that heat back, but anything the tarp absorbs gets absorbed directly into the material, which then absorbs into the air around me, above me. When I stand up, my whole head bakes when I get my head anywhere near this roof. So imagine in the summer, if I'm sitting in the captain's chair, my head's pretty close to right there. I'm getting roasted. But I put a gap, a 2-inch gap with mounts, and put that rigid solar panel above there. It creates that air gap that stays cool underneath, and then instead of roasting my skull, hopefully it's roasting my batteries. I look like one of them tough, rough it types, but deep down inside, I really don't like going out in nature without these. Because, yo, I can improvise a lot of shit out of what's in nature. I can improvise a lot of things, and there's a lot of ways to get yourself clean in nature. But, man, there is just nothing in nature that really takes the place of a good cotton swab. Like being able to clean just, man, being able to rim your ears and just get as much gunk out of your ear hole as you can is nice. Like, especially if you get bugs in your ear. But I mean, they got a lot of other good uses too. So I get the ones with the what do you call it? The pure cotton. You know, the sticks aren't plastic in case I do lose one in the woods or in the waterway, even worse. But thing is, you still got to be careful not to get them in the water, but you got to be more careful about keeping them dry, because that stick goes soft. It doesn't work very well if it gets a little moisture in the package. Alright, well, it's time. Let's see if I can manage this. Oh boy. Wait a minute. I can't just leave the door open all day. One more thing. I'm gonna take out last night's trash too. Sneak it. Bullseye. Don't do that. Toss stuff from your boat to your dinghy unless you know it's all secure and it'll float. You need to make sure you got some. It's not going to get, like, if you do miss, you can still get it. And also, if it's strong current or you're moving along, don't do it, because even if it floats, you may not get back to it before it's lost. Alright. Got no predators underfoot. Let's grab my shoes. Oh, man, that's good to see a little progress on my boat. Finally. I'm going to have to borrow a drill, a screw gun, secure a few things on here. Oh boy, what a mess. Okay, I can move some stuff forward. I'm going to have to move some stuff forward just to get in the canoe. done for. That tarp has seen. That tarp didn't last long. What is with these tarps that are like scientifically designed to fail within a month? I bought cheap sheets of plastic that lasted longer. All that needs to go. Alrighty. Those are not trash. I just don't like leaving them in the boat. Those aluminum cans. I want to use the metal to make some square ducts. Air ducts for cooling, refrigerating. But if I leave them on the deck, they collect sunlight and get hot AF. And they turn the boat into an oven. So I'm gonna take them with me, park them in the shade. And I'm starting to get all the materials to do all kinds of shit, and ended up with not enough room to do anything. That is the delicate balance of doing repairs and upgrades while you're on it, while all your shit's on it, everything you own. Let's see, the railing to my deck is starting to separate here, and I need to get a screw gun to secure it tightly. I've been securing it with screws, but drilled in by hand. I need to secure it, pull it in snugger, and then fiberglass over it to bond it in. I think I'll get some epoxy and do that. Alrighty, here we go. Got my life vest, my throwable, my whistle, my shoes. And a spot to put use. Let me show you my mess on the trash barge. This is why I don't have a kayak right now instead of, or a paddle board. Like, I could get a paddle board and get up here on the deck and put another one on the other side and have twin paddle boards, but I could not move this much stuff. And I know that until I'm done with all the construction, or at least the majority of it on here, it's better if I stick with a canoe. You'll know that my channel's about to get very interesting when you see me sell this canoe and switch to a kayak or paddleboard, because that's when I don't plan on doing a bunch, but that's when I'm just like, okay, I'm cleaning up all the construction, the debris, getting rid of the excess, and switching to just what I need for my daily living and my channel. And then that means when instead of doing a project on the boat, I'm showing you guys how to make a heater that you can use inside your tent out of stuff like this. Like, I put this in my tent on top of my stove, and it turns this ceramic element into a heater, a radiative heater, that I can put a cook pot on top of it and cook with it. I blow a little computer fan across it, and it's the forced air heater that then distributes that heat around inside. And the trick to not getting asphyxiated is using the right fuel and having a little ventilation and create a draft. So I went back to the dude's house yesterday. No, Friday. Sorry. And I furred out the final panel and put it on the wall. Let's see. Got a bunch of trim to install. Little privacy fence. The fence is pretty much up. The posts anyway are already there. Just putting a panel across them. Of course, I gotta make the panel. Anyway, I'm gonna try to get that front shop area sealed up enough to run an air conditioner in there and build some shelves in there, organize that shop area, turn it into a little mini service station. It'd be nice if people could pull up and have their car serviced real quick. It'd be really nice if I could talk him into buying the tools I need to fix his car's AC. I could. He already bought a jack and jack stands. Oh, I know what I need to do today. Forget all of that. I just realized that the old man's been driving around with spongy brakes all this time. And I have the tools now to bleed his brakes and see if there's anything else wrong with his brakes. think there might be something wrong with the vacuum on the power booster. The power booster doesn't generally go bad, but sometimes you get a problem with the vacuum that actuates it. And it could make his brakes feel spongy like that. Could just need a new power booster, but I'm thinking he just probably needs his brakes bled. Either way, it's probably more important to have good brakes on his van than to have the trim on his house installed. Both are important. I can't really seal the rain out properly without putting the trim on and then sealing and painting it. But the paneling at least isn't going to be getting deformed once it's screwed in place. And the insulation behind the wall doesn't get wet with the paneling there. So it's okay for now, but it does need to be done. It's like, how do I prioritize the day? This is my dilemma. Got it. Hold on, I could check the screen here. Yeah, Max, I'm reading all y'all comments to each other. I think bleeding the brakes is where I start. Morning, Josh. Bleeding the brakes is where to start. And that's the most basic, simple way to check and just make sure it's not some air in the lines, which it probably is. But if it's more than that, the next most likely problem would be some vacuum issues, which would be debris in the vacuum, like clogging brake, causing it not to get full vacuum. Now I got a 3-ton floor jack with jack stands. Makes no sense not to go ahead and pop them under that bin and bleed out the brakes. I got brake fluid. So, It's funny how long it took me riding with him to realize he had no brake lights. And now I'm realizing he barely got any brakes, and I thought the brake lights were the most important thing. Like, no, dude, the brakes are even more important than the brake lights. You don't have brake lights, somebody else rear ends you. You don't have brakes, you run into anything or person. I'd say the brakes are the single most important part of the car. Like, if it can't stop, it shouldn't go. That's pretty simple. Like, if I were the chief mechanic at a company and I found the condition of those brakes, I would be forced by moral conscience and duty to put a lockout tag out on it and say, do not operate this until it's fixed. It's unsafe. But if it's the lights, the brake lights, then it would be do not operate on the roadway. Like, you're still okay to operate it here in the yard on the private property where everybody knows it has an issue. You know, it's still operable without the lights. But it's not safe to operate anywhere in any conditions without the brakes. So yeah, anyway, I'll check the screen again here in a second in case anybody's chatting with me today. I better drop off some trash. I usually do most of that in the afternoons, but I got an overwhelming amount today. I'm gonna have to do some in the morning and some in the afternoon. I wish this park had a big dumpster in the corner somewhere. These guys shouldn't have to haul all this trash out every day. They should just haul it to the dumpster and then have the dumpster dumped every day. Sure I'm not being stalked by a big 15-foot croc. Look in the area over here. So far all I've seen is 15-foot gator, possibly a 3 or 4 foot croc, possibly, not sure, and about a 2 or 3 foot shark. And some really big manatee. 19th birthday, happy birthday, Devin. You're legally a man beyond the age of voting, but you still can't drink. Never made sense to me You can smoke a cigarette, but you can't have a drink. You can make a baby, but you can't drink. You can have your sex changes, but can't have a drink. How screwed up is that? Oh man. 19. Here's the crazy thing: when you're 18, you're as a man, you're expected to date someone younger than you, but you can't date a minor. She gets pregnant. Nope, statutory. Well, I think they changed that. I think you can be up to like 23 or something now, and be with like someone as young as 16 or some. Florida is like changed that up a little bit. It made it a little more sensible. Like for a guy who's 18, he had a very short age range he could date inside of. Unless he just went for the older women. Yeah, I do read it sometimes, but when I'm getting dressed and doing stuff, it's kind of hard when I'm paddling to read the screen. You guys are typing this big and flooding the screen with chat that has nothing to do with me or anything I'm saying. So, hey, you guys are my regulars. You're chatting and filling up the space in between time. It's fine. Like, it took me half the time you guys were talking about his birthday. It took me a while to figure out what that was about. On the 19th, let's take a look around here. Sounds like they're mowing today, which is good. Grass has been getting kind of thick. Okay. Yeah, I don't want to. Oh, that's the neighbor mowing across the river. I was going to say, I don't want to toss trash there where he'll think there's no one going to pick it up. I don't want to look like a litter bug, but I got to toss my trash here and then go park the canoe and come back and get it. All this shit, but I do need to get rid of this tarp. It's putting little microplastics off. I need to get away from these tarps and finish this roof. I'm realizing that the tarps get disintegrated in short order. And then they start flaking off. This is that roll of shit I took out of the waterway. Somebody had floated into the back of that cove. Gotta get rid of that. Putting all kind of shit, microplastics in the environment. You know what? I'm gonna secure the canoe and throw this shit away right now. Can't just leave it here. Here's the mangrove trees that produce edible fruit. One of them. You see these growing anywhere out here. The parks, city parks, are not a good place to harvest them, even though they might come out looking delicious and plump. They're sprayed with all kinds of pesticides. And it's not made for harvesting to eat. So end up with something. Okay, good. They haven't collected the juice yet this morning. I'm gonna dump a big thing in there. I want it to be before they throw away the trash for the day. Otherwise, that's what I'm saying. They need to just have a big dumpster over at the end of the park to where these guys don't have to haul it off. They got probably 15 or more trash cans around this park that they got to empty every day. And the park, I'd say, you know, like, they got a canoe launch here, dog park, tennis courts. Like, it generates enough trash here because of all the picnic tables and you know, it just generates enough trash. You shouldn't have to haul it in a pickup truck when they could just empty all of these bins. One guy could empty all these bins and drop it into the big bin and then spend the rest of the day doing, like, kids. Dude, they gotta go around and pick up bins full of dog poop. Like, come on. And mow the lawn, and maintain the baseball diamond, and the tennis courts, and the playground. You know, it's like, they gotta also city trash. I don't think it would be too much trouble just to have a trash truck run by this park and grab a dumpster that's over in the corner. But I don't know. Maybe they got their reasons. How was that? Morning. Oops, sorry. Tilted the camera too much. Alright. That's enough for the morning. And that's enough trash in the park for one shift. Dang, what a mess. The problem with picking up trash from out of the river is you sometimes end up looking like you're the one trashing the river. Some kind of bird in the bush over there hooting. Whew. All right, let's go secure this boat for the day and go to shore. That looks like a likely gator slide right there. Of course, all the surrounding land here is a gator slide. Wherever they can get to shore. It's one of the reasons I kind of like using a branch and mangrove roots to get to shore. It's not so much a spot that they like to go to shore. And I'm not creating a path for them. Like that canoe landing. Very quickly, the canoe landing becomes a real easy path for gators to come up the shore. Every time I reorganize or clean, I end up with one of my dock lines under everything. Pardon me. Gotta leave enough slack for it to drift a little out from under branches, but not enough slack to block the waterway. Get all the excess out of the boat so it's not snagging on stuff, tossing it overboard. That's how you know that whoever created this world, if it's created by God, is sadistic. It's obvious that he made mosquitoes so that you'll slap yourself. right. Well, folks, y'all have a good one. Be good to each other. And be good to yourself. It's not that hard to be kind. And yeah, just keep in mind a little respect doesn't cost you anything. A little disrespect sometimes costs a life. So be kind. I'll have a good one.